Hi, Chris. Thank you for having me back, especially on such a day where most Americans are very happy to see hostages being released and coming back home, and that's what we want. We want freedom. We're standing for freedom. We're standing for getting Americans hostages back home. But nobody talks about the whole story, which is you're not working in isolation. When you're making a deal and not including all Americans, you are affecting the fate of those who are left behind, and that's happening to my dad right now. He is left behind, and not just with a normal prison sentence, with an execution sentence. That means at this time, any moment, my dad can be taken out of his solitary confinement cell, put outside and strangulated to death, because that's the way they do it in Iran. They hang you from a public crane to show the world their power, and it is frightening. It is frightening to see that we don't have the protection of our government, which just right now showed that Americans can be brought back home. Even though we don't agree with this deal, everybody agrees that when we are doing something to release hostages, all of them must be included. I don't understand on what grounds our president or the State Department chooses which hostages deserve to be saved and which ones are left behind, because let's look at the facts. My dad is the only U.S. national who was kidnapped. He did not travel to Iran. My dad is the only U.S. national who used his First Amendment right here in America to speak against the crimes of the regime and was targeted here. So he's a victim of transnational repression. And my dad is the only one of the hostages in Iran who can die if he's left behind. So who picks who can come back home?
He also, I mean, not that it's material to a lot of people watching right now, but he doesn't even have an Iran passport anymore. He only has an American passport. So it's not like he's a dual citizen playing, having business there or something else. Giselle, when's the last word you've had about your father's well-being? And when's the last word you had from the State Department? That's Giselle and her father, Jimmy, there. What's the answer to those two questions?
The last time I was able to talk to my dad was about 2 weeks before this deal was happening. And they had him on the phone speaking to me, pretty much sending a message to my government. He's also a German citizen and a U.S. national, telling them, if you don't want us to execute this person, here's what you have to do. You have to come to the table. And this shows you they see him as a hostage and they treat him as a hostage. But our government doesn't even talk about him. The State Department hasn't even mentioned his name. Last week when we were speaking, I was in D.C. camping in front of the State Department just to get an audience with him, just to talk to my government about how they're getting my dad back home. And right now, here we are. The hostages came back home, which means my government doesn't even tell me if they have a plan for all of the hostages that are left behind there. And as they were sending over the money, two things happened. First of all, my dad was brought in front of the court again, the court system in quotation marks. They don't have real courts. Together with the U.S. government, they are both charged for fabricated charges of terrorism. So as we're handing them money, the terrorists created a court calling us terrorists, and we're still handing them money. We're still saying, okay, we're still doing this. As this money was passing over, the Islamic regime released a video of 3 nationals, activists from Germany, the UK, and US, who were fighting for the Women Life Freedom movement and somehow ended up in prison in Iran as they were making this deal. So they're showing us they have us in our hands, and that makes us look so weak. So why didn't we stop it there? Where is our red line? When do we say, no, you can't call the shots, we're calling the shots? This is terrifying to us who are here. I'm not safe, Chris. I have to have protection when I'm traveling within the US. It gets worse when I'm trying to go to Germany, where I need a 24-hour security team. The administration is not safe. The journalists here are not safe. And yet we're inviting the president of the terrorist regime. We're giving him a visa to come on a sanctioned plane to our country, and we're giving him a stage, while hostages like me don't get a stage except for your show right now.